Hi, everybody. Good evening. Thanks so much for being here with this Bilingual Candidates Forum. I'm just going to explain really quickly how the interpretation works. You can see the slide. Um, if you're connecting on your computer, you should see a globe at the bottom of the screen that says interpretation, and you'll click on that. And then if you want to be listening and participating in English, you'll just select English. If you're calling in from a cell phone, there's three little dots that say more, and you click there and then select interpretation and English. So in a moment, we'll start with the interpretation and test it out and make sure everybody's hearing okay. Make sure after you've clicked English, you click end so that it can turn the function on. I'm going to repeat that in Spanish. Entonces, muchas gracias a todos por estar aquí hoy con nosotros en ese foro de candidatos. Como pueden ver, lo estamos haciendo de manera bilingüe. Y si están en su computadora, pueden ver el globito en la parte de abajo de su pantalla donde dice interpretación. Pueden seleccionar español. O si se están conectando desde su celular, pueden hacer clic en los tres puntitos donde dice más y luego interpretación y español. Y vamos a probarlo para ver si todos pueden escuchar. ¿Intérpretes ya están listos para probar? Are the interpreters ready to test this out? Great. So let's see if you are wanting to hear the call in Spanish. Are you able to hear me in Spanish right now? If Spanish speakers could give us a thumbs up. Are the Spanish speakers able to hear in Spanish right now? Great. Y vamos a ver para las personas que se están conectando.
In English, everybody who selected English, can you listen to the English channel? Please thumbs up to check if you're able to listen.
So thanks so much for being here and for participating in this bilingual space. And thank you to Sensontle for the interpretation. I think we can get started.
All right, thank you for joining us. We'll be starting in a few moments. Actually, I guess we'll go ahead and start now. Thank you for coming to this candidates forum. Your moderators tonight are myself, Rob Thomas of the Racial Justice Coalition, and my co-moderator, Dulce Morales from SEMA. The mayoral candidates tonight are Esther Manheimer and Kim Roney. The candidates for City Council are Andrew Fletcher, Allison Scott, Nina Tovish, and Maggie Ullman Berthia. I'm sorry, I messed it up. Berthia Yume.
Like earthy.
Berthie.
Close. Berthia.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Last time I met with you, that wasn't part of your name. I apologize.
No problem.
All right. And I will hand it over to my co-host, Dulce.
Buenas noches a todos. Muchas gracias por asistir. Este foro fue organizado por el Racial Justice Coalition.
Thank you for being here. Racial Justice Coalition and SEMA organized this forum. Poder EMA, Community Ownership, Asheville Buncombe Community Land Trust, Just Economics,
Una comunidad informada puede lograr grandes.
An informed community can achieve big changes. So thank you so much for taking some time to know the candidates and their positions.
All right. So the ground rules for the lightning round questions. Basically, I will ask a question and each candidate will hold up their sign for yes or no. Are there any questions or, is everybody prepared? Does everyone have their signs ready? All right.
Okay. Can we stop the screen share so we can see everybody?
Yes, that would be it. All right, got the spotlights. Okay, I want to wait till, are we gonna do multiple spotlights? Yes, there we go. Okay. should be everybody. Let's see. All right, we should be ready to begin. Is everybody ready? All right. Yes, I like the bilingual cards. All right. Do you believe that the city should focus specifically on affordable housing solutions focused on longtime Asheville-Buncombe County residents? We have a unanimous yes. All right. Question number 2. Would you commit to the city keeping up with the living wage for their employees as cost of living continues to increase? Another unanimous yes. Question number 3. Will you commit to following the recommendations of the Community Reparations Commission? All right. A lot of yeses tonight. We're gonna see what happens after the election. 4. Will you commit to giving all city-owned land that was acquired through urban renewal back to the Black community? Ooh, we got some no's in here. Half yes, half no. Question number 5. Do you support ensuring language access in all official communications and proceedings? All right, all yeses. Question number 7. As a city official, would you commit to ensuring that food security for the city's most vulnerable residents is not negatively impacted by disruptions in food distribution services due to encampment clearings and anti-littering enforcement policies? That's been a tricky one over the past years. Number 8, question number 8. Would you commit to ensuring that food security in our community is increased through private residential food production in addition to the public food production efforts already being supported through implementation of the Food Policy Action Plan? All yeses. All right, that was fairly easy. I will hand it over to my co-host, Dulce.
Rob, I think you skipped number 6. Do you want to, before you hand it off?
Did I really? How did I miss? Oh, that is probably one of the most important ones. I apologize. Question number 6. Are you committed to representing all Asheville residents regardless of immigration status? Yes, all yeses. I don't know how I missed that one. I apologize. Cannot miss that one. All right, now I'll hand it over to Dulce.
Muchas gracias por participar.
Thank you for participating in the lightning round. Now, each candidate has 2 minutes to speak to any issue of your choice from the lightning round topics. We will hear from the candidates in the following order: Esther Manheimer, then Kim Roney, then Allison Scott, Nina Tovish, Maggie Ehrlman, and finally Andrew Fletcher. For the people, and then Dulce's voice went out.
No, adelante.
Please go ahead. We can start with Esther Manheimer. You can go ahead, please. 2 minutes to speak to any issue of your choice from the lightning round. Esther Manheimer, you're on mute.
Okay, are you asking us to hold up our sign for a few seconds so you can see us? Do you want us to do that?
Esther,
think
do
now
you
is
some
a
reason.
have
good- good-
interpretation enabled? We were interpreting into English. You heard of speaking 2 minutes on one topic from the lightning round? Did you hear that?
No, but I heard it just then.
Okay.
Did you, any of you
Make sure
hear
you
it?
all have English interpretation enabled because Dulce is speaking in Spanish and we're interpreting into English. Do you need a reminder of how
Okay,
to
and
access interpretation?
I can see it on the chat. Is that where I'm
Yes.
supposed to be looking?
Yes, please go ahead and
Yes.
choose English and click done at the end.
So real quick, sorry everybody. If you are able to see on your lower area of your Zoom, there's a little globe that you should be able to choose your language that you're wanting to listen to. If everyone's good on that, I think we can get started. Thank you.
Okay.
Sí, claro. Muchas gracias de nuevo.
Okay, thank you again for participating in the lightning round. Now each candidate has 2 minutes to speak to any issue of your choice from the lightning round. We will hear from the candidates in the following order: Esther Mannheimer, Kim Roney, Allison Scott, Nina Tovish, Maggie Ullman, and finally Andrew Fletcher. You each have 2 minutes. Yes, Miss Esther, you can start, please.
Okay, thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Esther Mannheimer. Thank you all so much for hosting this event together, and thank you for offering the translation in both languages. That's a wonderful thing for this event, the first of its kind for our forums this year. Just to review, answered all of the questions, yes, except for one of them, which was, will you commit to giving all city-owned land that was acquired through urban renewal back to the Black community? The reason I answered no is because I am eagerly waiting for the Reparations Commission to make its findings and recommendations. And I'm expecting, I think council's expecting that the land acquired through urban renewal, there will be a recommendation as to how that land should be disposed of. So I want to be able to receive their recommendation and carry that out. There is also currently an urban renewal policy that is not yet drafted and being considered with the input of the community and specifically the Black community. So I'll be interested to hear first from the community as to their expectations and hopes for how the land is disposed of, and whether it's sold and used for purposes, whether it's used for affordable housing, whether it's granted to folks in the Black community for home ownership or business ownership or other uses. So I'm eager to see those recommendations and support them. And then I'm eager to hear more about the private residential food production, and just wanted to, if anyone has a moment to clarify that, I'm assuming that means urban farming and zoning around that. So I'm supportive of that as well. Thank you.
Shall I begin?
¿Puede comenzar, Miss Kim Roney?
Yes, could you please begin, Kim Roney?
Yes, thank you, neighbors, and to this coalition for modeling inclusive and accessible meetings. Gracias a esta coalición para modelar.
Thank you to this coalition for modeling inclusive.
Accesibles. For question number 4 around the property, I think the importance for me in answering yes is dreaming up what is possible. We don't yet know what it's like to honor the requests and recommendations of the Community Reparations Commission, but it is important, I think, to imagine what it would look like to repair relationships. And I would add that it's not enough to just return what is left, because a lot of the pieces of property that are left are really hard and expensive to develop. So we're going to need to look at properties that are of equal or greater value that the city has access to, as well as the county. And I know this might include community centers have been suggested. It has been suggested, what if the people who live in public housing now owned public housing? So when we think about what is possible, I look not only to the land taken during urban renewal and redlining, but also to what has happened through interstate expansion, like with Hill Street, the loss of 7 churches, grocery stores, hospitals, schools, beauty shops. We're talking about small businesses, the economic engine of neighborhoods and resilient neighborhoods. So I think for me, it's about listening to the Community Reparations Commission as a civic process inside the city and the county, but also those organizations have caused a lot of harm. So it's important to simultaneously listen to the parallel efforts of the community-led organizations towards reparations, whether it's the RJC's Every Black Voice, the New Zadic and coalition process that's happening as well. So I want to be able to say yes and to exercise saying yes.
Gracias. Miss Allison Scott.
Thank you, Ms. Allison Scott. You can begin.
Thank you all for hosting this tonight, and again, modeling bilingual, multilingual forums. It's been sorely missed this year. I gotta say, saying no to giving back the land was the most gut-wrenching one for me. And it's not because I don't want to give back land. I've actually mentioned the urban renewal and the scars it has left on the communities, the Black communities in Asheville. The only reason I said no to that is because without investigating it further, I don't even know what that would look like, because I don't even know how much that land is left. I also think that we need to do better about what we give back to try to heal these wounds. And I don't want to give back just what we took, because we may not even own all of that anymore. I do want to look at other areas that we own land to see about how that would fit in. And that's why I'm really excited about the Reparations Committee. I've said over and over that is, as a white person, if I am hopefully elected on, my job is to listen, remove barriers, and then get out of the way. And that's what I plan on. I'm also really excited about the ensuring language access. It's the reason my website is available in English and Spanish. I've championed it in my advocacy work and really prioritizing that and putting money to it, and everything I'm connected with, I try to so much. So I just really excited that y'all again are modeling this. I wish every forum would. And I'm seeing a lot of familiar squares, Zoom squares out there, and people I know. And so I'm going to end here and just really want to show my appreciation for you and these questions.
Gracias, Alison. Podemos continuar con Miss Nina Tovish.
Thank you, Allison. We can continue with Nina Tovish. Go ahead, please.
Good evening, everyone, and allow me please to echo the thanks to you as a coalition for giving us this bilingual platform and showing us how it can be done. It, I'm sure, is not simple and obvious, but you have made it look easy and showing that there's no excuse for others not to do the same. I'm going to respond to the question about commitment to following the recommendations of the Reparations Commission. It's been my privilege to attend as many meetings as I can of that commission, and I have been impressed and humbled by the diligence, the hard work, the willingness to grapple with really painful history and thorny challenges that this group of remarkable 25 folks have taken on and the alternates. It gives me great hope for the future of Asheville, but I feel that it is even more vitally important that the governmental bodies involved in this effort, the county and the city, actually live up to their commitment and their promise to follow through in their support of and realization of the recommendations of this committee. It would be catastrophic for the future of our community if our city government did not follow through wholeheartedly and without reservation on the recommendations of this committee. It would be yet another horrible breach of trust with a group of people who have experienced way too many of those already. So yes, wholeheartedly, I feel we should be bringing those recommendations to fruition, short-term, long-term, medium-term.
Gracias, Miss Nina. Podemos
Thank
continuar.
you, Ms. Nina. We can go ahead with Ms. Maggie Ullman.
Gracias. Hi, everybody. My name is Maggie Ullman, Berthume. I haven't gotten to meet each of you, but there's a handful of friendly faces, so hello. I just want to introduce myself before I respond to some of the questions. I've been in Asheville for 20 years. I'm a mom. Actually, you can probably see some drawings in the back for my 8-year-old. And I used to work in City Hall. I was Asheville's first sustainability director, so I know my way around the red tape in City Hall, and I was able to save $1 million a year on energy costs while I was in City Hall. So I know how to take our big ideas and turn them into impact. As far as the lightning round, that fun format, I want to respond similar. Some folks have already responded to, I said no to committing right now today to giving all city-owned land back. And for similar reasons, we asked this reparations committee to do a lot of really thoughtful work. And I want to have that community conversation to see what those recommendations are before I would commit to anything, really. I am committed, however, to pursuing those recommendations. We need to follow through on this. Nina was just saying it. I mean, I'm echoing a lot of what other candidates have said. We have to follow through. Our integrity relies on our word. We said we would do this. Anyone elected needs to follow through. So I feel very strongly about that. The other place I'd love to respond to on the lightning round is about keeping up living wages for city employees. As a former city employee, I've spent a lot of time with folks in the sanitation department, riding our garbage trucks, with the firefighters who are living in public buildings. We need to be leaders and make sure that public servants can live where they work. And right now that isn't the case. And so we just need to stay competitive to lead the economy, to lead by example. Thank you.
Gracias. Y por último, el turno del
Thank you.
señor.
And finally, Mr. Andrew Fletcher.
Hey, good evening, everyone. My name is Andrew Fletcher. I am pleased to be running for City Council of Asheville, North Carolina, and I would be honored to represent you in such a fashion if I win. I want to touch on a couple of these questions because I think they're very good. First off, about ensuring that representing everyone regardless of their immigration status. This is close to home for me, as in many of us have immigration stories in our history. Mine is pretty close. My father's family were political refugees from Chile, and the warm welcome that they received led to my existence. It's the reason that I exist, and that they had access to education and jobs and well-being when they were here. And so that means a great deal to me, and I feel obligated to extend that to everyone. I also, as far as living wages for city employees goes, I'm very much in support of this. If we want to have a well-running city with good core services, just a place that works. We need to be able to have workers that are competitively compensated for their work and can live and work in the city in the city here in Asheville. So I think that is very important, again, to lead by example. And also when it comes to food security and being able to raise your own food, I grew up on a farm until I was 12 years old. And so I know what it's like to be able to go out in your backyard and bring in what you need for dinner. I think that's a very valuable connection, to be connected to the earth. And during the pandemic, I was able to restart that tradition for myself. And I started a garden in my backyard, and I have 5 chickens, and I'm able to supply my household, my neighbors, and my coworkers with eggs. So it is my pleasure to do my part, and I hope that more people are enabled to do theirs with that too. Thank you.
Muchas gracias. Ahora cada
Thank
candidato
you. Now, all candidates in the next phase will have a minute to answer the next question.
Esperamos que la pongan.
It will be shared in the screen. One moment.
Muchas gracias.
Thank
Y
you.
bueno, para la gente trabajadora, cada vez es más
Okay,
caro vivir en
so for
el costo de la vivienda sigue
our city is
aumentando.
increasingly
La
unaffordable for regular
familia
people
es
year after
intensa
year.
y
Housing
muy
prices
pocas
continue to
personas ganan
rise.
un sueldo digno.
Food
Las
insecurity
personas que
continues to
regresan a
rise, and too
Capinas
few
siguen
people
siendo
make a living
desplazados de
wage.
la ciudad.
Black and Latino
Y
people
creemos que
continue
las
to be
políticas
pushed out of the
pequeñas
city.
no van a resolver
We
estos
believe that small
problemas
piecemeal
y que de
policies
aquí a
to
2,
address
4 o
these
10
issues won't
años
solve these
las cosas
problems.
van a
And
estar
2 or
peor
4 or 10
y
years
no
from
mejor.
now, things would
Necesitamos
likely be worse
soluciones
and not better.
valientes
We need
que cambien el juego.
game-changing, bold
Les
solutions.
preguntamos a
So
cada uno de ustedes
we
cuál es
want
su
to ask each
estrategia
of you,
para lograr
what's your
este cambio.
game-changing strategy?
Y podemos comenzar con Esther, por favor.
We can start with Miss Esther. Esther, please.
Okay, just put my timer on. 2 minutes. Okay.
Solo un minuto.
Again.
Just 1 minute. Sorry.
Okay.
You can go ahead, ma'am.
All right, thank you. And again, thank you for hosting this event. So let me just say, first of all, Asheville has been a leader in North Carolina on affordable housing initiatives. And over the last several years, we have built quite a toolbox of affordable housing strategies, whether it's through the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, leveraging city-owned land into affordable housing, creating grants for property taxpayers to have tax relief, working with the Housing Authority on the redevelopment and expansion of public housing and housing that uses vouchers. And we're doing this work because we know this is one of the greatest challenges of our city and for the people that live in our city and who are coming to our city. We want to be a welcoming community for everyone, and this is a critical issue. In terms of bold steps, I would quickly say that I am eager to implement the recommendations of the Reparations Commission. And for example, in Evanston, Illinois, who's ahead of us on this, they created a grant program for those whose homes were robbed from them through urban renewal and provided grants for home ownership. And I think that would be a game changer in our community.
Gracias. Ahora, Miss
Thank you.
Kim Roney.
Now, Miss Kim Roney, please.
So the big idea has to come from the community. And some of the things that I've learned from the community by working alongside with you is the impact of property taxes and land use or zoning as the impact of gentrification is felt, while the hotel development unchecked and for-profit development unchecked push on both sides. It means people are being displaced and our natural resources are being burdened and our infrastructure is being burdened. But affordability isn't just housing, right? It's transportation costs and childcare costs and food. And so as people get pushed farther and farther away from resources, they have to spend more time traveling in, and that's more time away from families. So I think for me, it looks like a combination of overhauling a unified development ordinance, which is based on solutions for building from 30 years ago, which is why we're getting those kinds of solutions now, while simultaneously having an affordability bond that addresses housing, transportation, and childcare with property taxes mitigation built in. Because we know that the people who are paying the most disproportionately of property taxes are in our legacy neighborhoods, our historic Black neighborhoods, and explicitly the Emma community. The South Side, for example, and the Emma community paid more in Buncombe County property tax increases than my family did in the home that we currently take care of. So I think land use with those resources packaged at the same time will be an important part of unraveling this big mess that we've made.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Adelante.
Alison Scott, go ahead.
Well, I have to say, as someone who grew up in poverty, bouncing around from trailer park to trailer park, actually over in Emma up on Adams Hill Road, and working in activists and being an activist and working in advocacy, I don't believe game-changing solutions ever come from government. In my experience, that is not where it comes from. It comes from communities. It comes from collective organizing is the only way to gain liberation. I'm running to help remove the barriers because I know in my work over the years, the hardest part was the barriers that were always present through governments and institutions. And that's what I want to do. I want to help break those barriers down and make it easy for communities to organize and to find their own liberation, because that's where it really comes from, is within.
Muchas gracias. Ahora es turno de
Thank
Nina.
you very much. Now it's Nina Tabish's turn.
I wish there was a magic, single, obvious, game-changing idea that would fix these long-standing, complicated, intractable problems. But I don't think there is. And I'm certain that if I was with one that I thought had it, I would be wrong. I agree with those who've spoken before me who say that the way we're going to address these problems is in community, talking together, and that the role of government in that, in my view, is facilitation and the provision of resources to ensure that the strategies and the voices that emerge from our communities who are affected are the ones that are heard from and that are implemented. A government that isn't in dialogue with its community in that way is not a democratic government. We need a government that facilitates participation and empowers people to come to the solutions that will serve us best, us all best.
Gracias. Maggie Ullman.
Thank you. Maggie Ullman.
Thank you. Part of what I love about running for office is I really respect the other candidates and their ideas, and it'd be an honor to be teammates with any of you because I think these are some pretty powerful insights. The fact that government can push but isn't the end all be all in the center is a good perspective, and I agree. Something I do think a lot about, and I think will be game changing, is for us to get a handle on how we get around safely. Everybody needs to be on the move at some point, whether it's to their job or to their childcare, to get their groceries. And right now we keep thinking like a small town, and I want us to think like a big city when it comes to transit. When you cross the city line into the county, no one pays attention to that, but our transit service acts that way. We don't have transit that is sufficient for us in the city or in the county. I'd like to see city-county transit, and I'd like to see a long-term dedicated funding source to that. Thank you.
Muchas gracias. Andrew Fletcher, adelante.
Thank you
Thank
very much. Andrew Fletcher, go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you. And I just want to say to Allison, I really loved your answer. That really made me smile. I just, yeah, want to say that is a wonderful perspective that I support. I want to add to that though too about something that we could do. I appreciate the question focused on regular people. I am a regular person. I am a renter, the only renter in the race. My perspective on affordability, I think, is therefore a little different. Because it's a very real thing to me in my life. And so the game-changing thing that I would do is, because of my perspective as a renter and a regular person, I have more solidarity with the people in the city who have 2 jobs than the people who have 2 homes. And what I would like to do is I would like to have a lot of enforcement on the short-term rentals that are eating up our neighborhoods and eating up our current stock of affordable housing. I've seen the city again and again not value what we already have and always talk about new things. We need to value what we already have and bring working people back into our neighborhoods instead of short-term rentals. And that is what I would get very serious on as a council person.
All right. I think Andrew Fletcher was the last one to address.
Okay, that reflect, perdón.
Was the last one to address those questions. So now we have some time to take questions from the chat, and we will ask each candidate to answer for up to 30 seconds, please. The first question I'm gonna start out with is definitely a tough one. It is an anonymous question. And it says, what will you do to ensure that the reparations committee is not just yet another committee left with zero power when it comes to meeting the needs of the community? That's the first part of the question. Second part is, how will you ensure that the guidance of this committee is prioritized over the feelings of wealthy white folks? And please feel free to unmute and answer.
Did you, sorry, I didn't hear what you just said. Did you want me to start again?
I was just saying, feel free to unmute, but yeah, you've unmuted, so please feel free to.
Oh, you don't have an order? I'm sorry.
No. Well, for the sake of brevity, let's just use the same order as before.
Okay. All right. 30 seconds. All right. First of all, I would say that right now we are supporting the work of the Reparations Commission. We are trying to make sure that they have what they need. They have the support that they need, whether it's literally financial, childcare, whatever the case may be, but also just generally the staffing support they need to come up with a set of recommendations. And it is the intention of the council, the county, who are partner in this, to carry out the recommendations of the Reparations Commission. And I do think that it is critical that this is done to ensure trust from the community.
We're using the same order as before if the next person wants to go.
So just for clarity, when there's a pause for the translation, should we wait for you to call on us?
No, you really should go after the translation ends. That's better.
Very good. So I've been attending the Community Reparations Commission, which once again is the civic process, not the community process that's running parallel. But the civic process, the Community Reparations Commission already did make a first recommendation, and that was to earmark a percentage of the budget in perpetuity with a policy to protect it. My questions and follow up with staff, especially our legal staff, was that we could have a policy like our general fund balance policy. We haven't done it yet. We've set aside $500,000, which would be hard to buy even just one house with. We still have a way to go, and it's time to do the Reparations Commission recommendation, and I'm ready to do it.
I believe I'm next then. This one really strikes close to home. I served and chaired on the Citizens Police Advisory Committee, and this is one of my biggest frustrations of committees with no teeth. With reparations, one of the things to making sure that it stays as an effective committee is really commitment to and I, as someone who has served on committees that don't have power, or seemingly nothing happens when you make those recommendations, I will champion that because I've been in that position and I don't want it to happen to any other committee again.
This is one of those cases where the critical role of residents is in holding our elected officials accountable. This was a promise to our community. The folks on council said, and the folks on the county said, we are going to support the recommendations of these folks. There need to be consequences if that doesn't happen, and those consequences need to happen visibly and quickly in the public square and in the election booth if they do not follow through on their promises.
Thanks for this question. I guess I'll jump in to keep it rolling. Maggie here. I have a very quick answer to the first one. What'll I do to ensure this isn't just another committee? I'm going to find the money. I'm going to find resources to support the implementation. I don't know yet where. I'm not exactly sure how. I'm pretty certain we're going to need to get really creative because we're cutting new trail. I think my job is to find the money. And what will I do to ensure the guidance is of the committee is prioritized over the feelings of white, wealthy folks? I think it's a responsibility of mine if I get, oh, darn, my time's up. I'll do my white work to advocate to other white people. White leaders need to really inform other white people and bring them on the journey. Thank you. Sorry for extra time.
I think Maggie brings up a good point, as in we must be ambassadors to people, to bring more people to the table, to accept that reparations are historic and necessary. I note that this process came from the George Floyd protests to which I attended. I would like to think that I did not get tear gassed for nothing, and that we will be able to follow through on these recommendations. And it's going to really depend on, I think, what type of council we get. And I would happy to be on the team that follows through with that.
Yeah, I would just like to thank everybody for their answers. All very good answers. The next question is, could you please speak to your stance on reallocating resources from the police budget to other services for and in our city? And we'll have another anonymous question after that.
Okay, I'm going. Go ahead. So what I would say is that we are invested in working to reimagine public safety. And that is because we recognize that the city, as well as the county and the state, the federal government, have embedded institutional racism that has resulted in Black and brown people being incarcerated at much greater rates than white people. And we have made a multi-pronged effort to continue to reimagine public safety, to change that systemic racism that we know exists in our community. More later.
This is Kim. So I will just say that it is both a opportunity and a necessity that we diversify our public safety response, which has a history, including a current position, of not being safe for everyone in the way that we currently respond to calls for crisis. So we have to do something. One of the things we can do is make sure that we're doing violence interrupter programming for intimate partner violence and youth violence, but also it is the mayor's role to oversee emergency declarations and curfews. And we know Black and brown folks are disproportionately stopped. So when we brought folks in from Hendersonville that had a 287G agreement with ICE during the uprisings, we created a problem of safety for our community.
Could you restate the question, please?
Yes, could you please speak to your stance on reallocating resources from the police budget to other services for and in our city?
Thank you. This is something from day one that I've been saying, that the police are not the tool for everything, and we have to get out of that mindset. When people call 911, I do like the idea that we have a central number, and having diversified responses is critical to bring equity and equality to all of our responses. So that means responding with EMTs, mental health, whatever it takes for the crisis at hand, and not saying that the police is the first tool we pull out of the toolbox. And I am really big on accountability. That's why my time on CPAC, we put forward a recommendation for a citizens review board.
So yes, as others have said, I think the motto is not necessarily defund the police, it's diversify the police. I think when people think of police, they think first and foremost of somebody kitted out like they're going to storm Fallujah with body armor and 6 different kinds of lethal weapons and a lot of ammunition, and a scary person who might kill you, even though what you really need is someone to help you feel safe in a dangerous situation. I would love to see us offer, maybe even through the police department, other ways of responding to situations where people feel unsafe or where something scary is happening. And we can do this. We have the resources for this.
Um, 30 seconds. What do I think about this? I think that the community paramedic program is a fantastic program that the county has started that is working very well, and that we need to expand upon that so that we can have lots of different responses, so that it's not just police. I don't think we should limit ourselves to looking at the police's budget to find resources to have better responses. I think that we need to find resources everywhere that we possibly can, because the type of social issues that we are experiencing now are very different than they've ever been, and we need really different structures.
This is Andrew Fletcher. We are in a historic moment, and we need a historic response, and that is to change direction from investing mindless money again and again toward the police as being our only public safety tool. We need to stop treating the police department like a Swiss Army knife. We need to generate the right tools for the right job. And we also need to recognize that long-term public safety and low crime comes from education and economic issues. And so those are the big things that we can do in the long term.
All right, I appreciate all of you all's answers and responses to that question. The next question that we have coming up is another anonymous question. It is, will you make, hold up, let's see. A lot of the initiatives that have been mentioned are issues that go beyond city limits. In the past, there have been frustrations with the city county not working well together. How do you foresee building a positive community-focused plan with the Buncombe County Commission? A great question.
Okay, I'll take this one, I guess, again, to start with. I would say that over the years of history with the city and the county, it has been a rocky relationship, and it is probably better now than it's actually ever been in my memory in the history of the city and the county. And we have been doing some initiatives together in partnership with one another. For example, most recently, we consolidated the 911 call center. But we are working on some bigger, bolder initiatives around potential transit authority. But I think it takes a strong working relationship, and you have to be able to keep those lines of communication open. You've got to be meeting together, talking with one another, and trying to figure out the places where you can come together and work as partners to be better for our entire community. Oh, sorry.
This is Kim. So just like we talked about how the problems of the city are going to be people-powered solutions to meet this moment, that will be the case with the county as well. I've been with members that are in this group advocating for policies around planning with the county. And I think when we look at the county's comprehensive plan, that's a great example. Another one would be a Buncombe Asheville transit system that maximizes the use of our transportation dollars, which is, we know that transit is an economic engine, but also equitable access.
Sorry. Well, this is another case where I have not been waiting to get elected. I've been in action, and I've already been speaking with county commissioners about what it would look like for us to start doing quarterly meetings together that are publicly broadcasted and done outside of normal 9 to 5 schedules. I think it's a great place where we can start really doing solutions that are intersectional, that deal with all the issues of access, but also cooperation and really getting the governments in sync to help people.
I completely agree with Allison that some kind of more formal interaction between City Council and County Commission is absolutely necessary. There needs to be coordination around issues of budget, transportation, school, tax assessment. All of these things have really significant impact on the folks who live in the city and the county. We need to work together, and that means being in dialogue constantly. I've been making comment at County Commission, and I've been making comment at City Hall, because both of these bodies affect the lives of all of us who live here.
This is Maggie. I am not going to speculate how this will work. I'm already working on this. So similar to Allison, I'm not going to wait till I'm in office to do the work. Historically in my job, I built a coalition of 70 cities across the South to get them to row in the same direction on climate change solutions. I know what it takes to build bridges across government agencies and organizations. I currently serve on the county's Environment and Energy Committee, where we're working on getting low income energy efficiency and solar programs. It all starts with trust in intentions to really make our community better.
This is Andrew Fletcher. One of the things that we don't have, a tool that most cities have that we do not have, is an ETJ, an extraterritorial jurisdiction, to help mitigate those the gray areas as when you go from the city line into the county, so that there isn't such a steep change in the zoning regulations from one group to the next. So I think we absolutely need to ask Raleigh to give us our ETJ back. And I also want to second and third the ideas of meeting quarterly with the county. I love that idea. I believe the county should do that with all the municipalities in Buncombe County as well.
All right, we have time for about one more question. I did want to lift up Patrick Conant's question in the chat about, what you would do to increase public participation in government processes and how you work to remove barriers. But that's not the question I'm going to ask. There was another anonymous question before this. I also want to lift up the question about speaking to homelessness and increase across populations in our community, including children and families. Another great question. But the last question that I'm going to bring forward will be, it's real deep one. Will you make a commitment to refrain from holding private meetings in which there is council quorum to discuss matters relating to the city of Asheville?
Well, yes, because it's illegal to have a quorum and have a private meeting of council. That's not done.
This is Kim. We were sued by 4 media organizations and lost over scheduling a meeting of council for the retreat a couple years ago. We've also voted on the ARPA COVID-19 relief funds in a Google document. I'm committed to an open meetings policy to bring transparency to the mayor's office for shared accountability and shared success as we work on affordability, public safety, neighborhood resiliency for a hopeful future for our youth in the face of climate change. I can't do this work by myself. I'm going to do the people's work in public because I need your lived and professional experience.
Yeah, again, this is something I committed to very early, is just abiding by all open meetings policies. I actually put this out online months and months ago that I committed to this. I really am all about doing public business in public. So easy yes.
I'm delighted to hear everyone take up the rallying call of doing the people's work in public. I have a pledge on my website about how I will be transparent about how I do my decision-making and how I bring everyone into the conversation as I'm exploring how I'm going to vote. But I think it's absolutely essential that when city council members meet, whether they meet with city staff or whether they meet with one another, that the public have an opportunity to hear what they're saying and to follow along and have access to minutes from meetings. This is the essential transparency that we require from our government in order to be able to hold people accountable.
This is another one where I feel like it's easy. Yes. Part of the job is to be a public servant. We aren't kings and queens. We're leaders of a community that believes in democracy. So I'm in, of course, absolutely. Thanks for the question.
This is Andrew, and I make a resolute yes on that. I definitely refrain from illegally meeting, but I also want to talk about how, when it comes to open meetings laws, you can do the minimum legally possible, or you can have, by your values, set a course to the maximum available and possible. And that is where my values would steer us, not the legal minimum, but the maximum possible.
Again, all great responses. I truly appreciate you all for participating. You didn't have to give us your time. I thank you all for that. It shows your commitment to community and engaging with community. And just want to appreciate you all. I also want to appreciate all the organizations, all the sponsoring organizations that participated in creating this event. And I will hand it over to my co-host, Dulce.
Thank you. Thank you for your proposals, for participating in this space. And also, I would like to remind you in the name of the Latino and Black community, don't forget everything that you mentioned in campaigning. And don't forget your commitment. Whoever wins, please don't stay in words. We need actions. So that everybody who has participated in the creation of this forum, thank you so much. Everybody who was online, thank you very much. Good night, everybody.
Buenas noches.
Buenas noches. Muchas gracias.
Buenas noches.
Buenas noches. Good night, y'all.
Giggle box.